Hey guys, welcome back. So today we'll be factoring trinomials. What if you had 40 minus 13x plus x squared? How would you factor this trinomial here? The first thing to do before you factor is to rearrange your terms so that the trinomial is written in descending power. So first you're going to do x squared minus 13x and then plus 40. And then we are going to factor our trinomial here. So remember, if you see an example like this, make sure that you arrange your terms so that your powers are descending. We're going to factor x squared minus 13x plus 40. And the two numbers is going to be 8 and 5. And you're going to use a negative 8 and a negative 5. So if I do negative 8 times negative 5, this is going to give me a positive 40. Perfect. And then if I do negative 8 plus negative 5, you're going to get negative 8 minus 5, and this is going to give you a negative 13. So perfect. We're looking for a positive 40, which is what we have here, and a negative 13, which is what we have here. So positive 40 and negative 13. So you have x minus 8 here, and then x minus 5 here. So your final answer is x minus 8 times x minus 5. Let's look at this example here, x squared minus 17x plus 70. So we need to factor. I need two numbers. When you multiply is going to give me 70. Those same two numbers, when you add or subtract, needs to give us a negative 17. And the first two numbers that come to mind is going to be 7 and the number 10. If I multiply 7 times 10, this is going to give me 70. However, if I add 7 plus 10, this is going to give me 17. So it looks like we are almost there. We're close, except I'm looking for a negative 17. How can I get a negative 17? And the only way to get that is going to be if I work with negative 7 and negative 10. So now let's see what we get. So negative 7 times negative 10, this is going to give you a positive 70. And then you have negative 7 plus negative 10. Let's see, negative 7 minus 10, and this is going to give you a negative 17. So as you can see, we did receive a positive 70 and a negative 17 here, which is what we have here. So now we know that it's going to be a negative 7 and a negative 10. So x minus 7 here, and then x minus 10 here. Now let's go ahead and check our work to see. X times x is x squared. X times negative 10, negative 10x. Negative 7 times x, this is minus 7x. And then negative 7 times negative 10 is a positive 70. So now you're going to have x squared. You're combining like terms here. So negative 10x minus 7x is going to give you 17x. And that's a negative 17x. And then plus 70. So as you can see, you are going to get the same answer that you started with. What about r squared minus r minus 42? I need two numbers. When you multiply, it's going to give me negative 42. Those same two numbers, when you add or subtract, needs to give us a negative 1. Remember, we have an imaginary negative 1 right here in front of the r. And those two numbers are going to be 6 and a negative 7. If I multiply 6 times negative 7, this is going to give me negative 42. And if I add 6 plus negative 7, this is going to give us, so you have 6 minus 7, this is going to give me a negative 1. And as you can see, I have a negative 42, which is here, and then a negative 1, which is here. So we know that a positive 6 and a negative 7 are the numbers that's going to give us these answers. So we have r and r here. You're going to have a positive 6, which is from here, and then r minus 7, and that's going to give us the negative 42 as well. So your final answer here is r plus 6 times r minus 7 as your final answer. And remember, if you wanted to check your work, you're going to do r plus 6 times r minus 7. So r times r, this is going to be r squared. R times negative 7, this is going to be minus 7r. 6 times r is going to be positive 6r. And then 6 times negative 7, this is going to be negative 42. So now we're going to combine our r's together. So you have r squared minus minus 1r, because negative 7r plus 6r is going to give us a negative 1r, and then minus 42. And as you can see, it takes you back to the original problem that you started with. So your final answer is r plus 6 times r minus 7. What if you had a squared plus 2a plus 10? So we're looking for two numbers. When you multiply, is going to give us a 10. Those same two numbers, when you add or subtract, needs to give us a 2. The only numbers that come to mind is going to be 1 and 10. If I multiply 1 times 10, this is going to equal 10. If I add 1 plus 10, this is going to equal 11. As you can see, 1 and 10 cannot be used because we're looking for a 2. So now let's try 5 and 2. So 5 times 2, this is going to give us a 10. And then 5 plus 2, this is going to give us a 7. And as you can see, we still didn't get to what we're looking for. So this is an example of a prime polynomial. And this is because we are unable to factor with the integers 1, 10, 5, 2. I do not have any numbers that when I multiply is going to give me 10, and then those same two numbers when I add or subtract is going to give me 2. So because we do not have any integers to factor this, this is a prime polynomial. Let's look at x to the 4th power plus 5x squared and then plus 6. Let's look at this example here. So we'll be completing the same steps. We need two numbers. When you multiply is going to give you 6. Those same two numbers when you add or subtract needs to give you a 5. So the numbers that come to mind is going to be 3 and 2. So if I multiply 3 times 2, this is going to give me 6. And then if I add 3 plus 2, this is going to give me 5. So that's perfect. We have a 6 here, which is from here. And then we have our 5, which is from here. The numbers that gave me the 6 and 5, when we multiplied, is going to be 3 and 2. So we have x, you're going to have a positive 3 and a positive 2. When you're looking at this example here, notice that your leading power here is 4. So that means that you need to have x squared here and x squared here because that's going to give me x to the 4th power. So your final answer here is x squared plus 3 times x squared plus 2. Now let's go ahead and check our work. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th power. X squared times 2, this is going to give us a positive 2x squared. And then 3 times x squared is going to be positive 3x squared. And then 3 times 2 is going to be a positive 6. So now I'm going to combine like terms. So the only thing we can combine is going to be 2x squared and 3x squared. So we have x to the 4th power plus 5x squared plus 6. And as you can see, it takes us back to the example that we started from. Let's look at one more. X squared plus 7xy plus 6y squared. Let's look at this example here. We need two numbers. When you multiply, is going to give us a 6. Those same two numbers, when you add or subtract, needs to give us a 7. And the numbers that come to mind is going to be the numbers 1 and 6. It's going to be 1 times 6. This is going to give us 6. Perfect, which is what we have here. And then if I do 1 plus 6, this is going to give me 7, which is what we have here. So the numbers that gave us the 6 and 7 is going to be the numbers 1 and 6. So that means you're going to have x plus 1 and then x plus 6 here in parentheses. Now, when you're looking at your example, notice that you have a lot of variables that you do need to make sure you add in your factored form. In order to get a y squared at the end, that means you need to have y in your answer here. So your final answer here is going to be x plus y times x plus 6y as your answer. Now let's go ahead and check our work. So let's say you were not sure. So x times x, this is going to give you x squared. And then x times 6y, this is going to be plus 6xy. Y times x, this is going to be imaginary 1, xy. And then y times 6y, this is going to be 6y squared. Now we're going to combine like terms. So we have x squared, and then you have 6xy plus xy. This is going to be 7xy plus 6y squared as your answer when we checked our answer. So as you can see, it takes you back to the original problem. So your final answer again is going to be x plus y times x plus 6y as your answer. All right, so that is all for today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.